You're in the Business Insurance Zone with me, Steve Savant, national insurance columnist and financial color commentator. Today on The Biz, controversy. Are RMDs dangerous to the financial health of seniors? Retirement expert and author of Paychecks and Playchecks, Tom Hegna thinks so.
When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Well, welcome everyone to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm your host, Steve Savant, and we're broadcasting live to a nationwide audience of financial advisors right here in Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of America's largest fountain. And with me today, author of Paychecks and Playchecks. Hey, I have to say, Tom Hegna, welcome to our show again.
Thank you, Steve.
Now, I just want to set our audience up here. I love when Tom has his take on things, right? You have a very specific take on things. And I was really surprised because RMDs, 70 and a half event, right? Required minimum distributions. Right. We all have to face it. I'll be facing it soon. Well, you'll be facing it a little later than I will. But we're all going to have to deal with this. And I'm really surprised at how this could be a negative issue for a lot of seniors.
Well, Steve, the whole reason I wrote this article for Senior Market Advisor was, there's all this talk about the fiscal cliff and the country's fiscal cliff. Well, seniors face their own fiscal cliff with RMDs. If you think about it, the stock market for years had done well, and people just took their RMDs out and they thought that was the way it was meant to be. And most seniors think that RMDs were created to give them income in retirement. Well, in fact, that's not true. In fact, nothing could be further from the truth. And I always knew that RMDs were suboptimal. I mean, just look at the graph and you'll see that it's suboptimal.
No, before you go though, when you talk about suboptimal, what do you mean, Tom?
I mean, it's less than what it could or what it should be. I mean, if you look at it, it starts out low, then it goes up higher, and then all of a sudden there's this cliff that if you live too long, your RMDs will drop precipitously down to next to zero when you're about 106 to 110. Now, I always knew it was suboptimal, but I really never knew why until I spoke at a LIMRA conference. And there was another speaker, and he said, does everybody realize that RMDs were never created to provide seniors income in retirement? RMDs were created as a tax recapture plan for the federal government. And so, because you got a tax deduction to put it in, because it grew tax deferred, this is the way the government gets their taxes out. It was never meant to provide seniors income in retirement. And so that was really the basis of the article.
Well, when I think about it, I read your article, and of course, if you want it, you can just order it at thebiz@brokersalliance.com. We'll send it to you. But what I'm really looking for is, I looked at this graph. Yeah. I mean, talk about a pictorial cliff. May I show this?
Sure.
Well, actually, show yours. Yours is in color.
It's right here.
Look at this graph, because to me, this really shows what we're really up against. And I think it's a revelation what you just said too, by the way. You said that RMDs were never meant to be a distribution or an income scenario for seniors. It was always a recapture, a taxation issue by the federal government.
Right. So here's the deal. We got seniors now who get used to this, and they start taking it out when they're 70. Well, by the time they're 90, do you think they remember that this was not supposed to be an income plan? And then if all of a sudden they face this fiscal cliff, there's a much more optimal way to do it, Steve.
Well, so let's talk about that, because I think you're using a phrase that I do not hear advisors use, this optimal phrase. You keep using it, right? It's common for you, but let's talk about that.
Yeah, so here's why I use optimal, because number one, and I use optimal and suboptimal, because you don't want to go into somebody's house and say, well, that's bad, or that's stupid, or that's the dumbest thing I ever saw. You don't want to say that, but you say it's suboptimal. It's less than what it could or what it should be. And I always try to bring the optimal solution. Now, Steve, the optimal does not mean it will always be the best. Nobody knows what will always be the best. It will be the best more often than anything else will be the best. That's what optimal means.
When you use it in applications to annuities, because this is where we're going to kind of talk about some of this, it's still inconceivable to the majority of advisors and producers out there in such a low interest rate environment that one of the optimal options is using a single premium annuity in a qualified plan.
Yes.
I mean, that comes up all the time.
But here's why. It's because interest rates matter in a lifetime income annuity less and less the older you are. So, for example, an 85-year-old, if they get a check this big from a lifetime income annuity, only this much is interest. And so if you double interest rates, it's only going to affect the check a little bit. The majority of that check is principal and the secret sauce, mortality credits. We keep coming back to the mortality credits, but it's the extra money paid from the risk pool and the principal added to that little bit of interest. That is really the secret sauce of why the lifetime income annuity is, in this case, the optimal solution.
Well, now you brought up another thing that I think people are not really aware of. It's this issue of mortality credits. And I don't think we understand how this makes such an impact, and it's significant.
It is. It is. And just like interest rates are at the lowest level maybe that we might see for a long time, or certainly the lowest we've seen in the last 40 years, mortality credits right now may be the highest that we're going to see for some time, because as people live longer, just like life insurance premiums go down as people live longer, so do the income payments go down as people live longer as well. And so mortality credits in the future may very well be reduced. So now is the time to get these lifetime income annuities, because you're locking in these higher mortality credits.
Now, if that's true, and I know it's true because the mechanics are there, and you've talked about this in your book, and some of the people that you pal around with at $1 Million Roundtable, other co-authors that do the same magazines you do, all talk about this.
Right.
So but I still think it's brand new to the majority of producers and advisors out there. So we're at a flat and low interest rate environment. You said something curious. Even if we doubled up on our interest crediting, it wouldn't really make that much difference once we start taking income at the older ages. Is that correct?
At the older ages.
Right.
So interest rates matter the younger a person is. If somebody's 55 or 60, certainly interest rates matter much more on a lifetime income annuity. But if somebody's 80 or 85 or 90, the interest rate factor is so small, it's not going to affect that paycheck very much.
So when I'm trying to think about the mechanics then. So is there a demarcation line, kind of where you'd say, okay, now interest rates start to take over? No, mortality credits take over.
In general, 70 and above, lifetime income annuity. 60 and below, you probably look at a variable type annuity with an income benefit. Between 60 and 70, it really depends.
Wow. When we come right back, we're going to address more of the RMD controversy and whether Tom Hegna is a financial heretic or a consumer hero. Remember, you can order Tom Hegna's #1 book on retirement, Paychecks and Playchecks, on Amazon.com.
You're listening to the insurance industry's #1 resource for products, planning ideas, carrier information, and interviews you can use. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.
Welcome to the Brokers Alliance Auction House. I'm Jessica Lopez, and that's Steve Savant. What are you doing?
I'm practicing my auctioneer skills for our carrier bidding process for our producers' substandard cases.
Steve means that we're packaging our substandard cases for underwriters with specific carriers that are known to specialize in certain health impairments.
There are really only a handful of competitive carriers in each category, and we've identified who they are.
It's all about securing the best possible underwriting offer by packaging your substandard case with the right carriers.
So let the bidding begin. Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm Steve Savant with Tom Hegna. And remember, you can order today's giveaway at thebiz@brokersalliance.com. And Tom Hegna's article, we're giving it away, and this cool graph that talks about RMDs and lifetime income, we'll just send it to you at your request. And remember, just a heads up, before moving forward with anything that you hear on our show, always consult your tax advisor and your broker-dealer compliance officer. We're talking about RMDs and the danger. I mean, I've never thought about danger it could be to seniors. And remember, in Tom's book, and you need to order this right on Amazon.com, this book lays out some of the mechanical language we talked about in the first segment. So I want you to just a heads up. You say, wow, optimization, I didn't know about credits. I mean, there are a lot of cool things in here that you'll want to read. Now, talk about the strategies. Now that we got the mechanics out, let's put it together for a strategy.
Okay, so the basic strategy in the article is that a client would move their IRA to a lifetime income annuity. And in this case, I show a joint lifetime income annuity. Now, some people say, wait a minute, Tom, you can't do joint life on an individual retirement account. And the answer is yes, you can. You could do it with your spouse. You could do it with your kids. You could do joint life with your golfing buddy. Now, this guy picked his wife, Steve, in this example. Now,
I have to ask you a quick question. So even though the account, my qualified plan is under my name and sole individual, I can still put somebody else on there in regards to a joint annuity.
Joint payment, yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Wow.
And I show joint life with cash refund. That means husband gets a check for the rest of his life. When he dies, wife gets the same check for the rest of her life. If they both die, the kids are protected, so the money didn't just disappear. And look at on that line, every single year it pays more than the RMD. And I always say this, Steve. I say, look, if you're saving money in your IRA or 401k, what are you saving it for? You're saving it for your retirement. Well, when you're 70 and a half, you're now in retirement. If you're 70 and a half, when do you think your best 10 years are going to be? Those first 10 years. Well, look at the RMD. What the RMD says, Steve, is in your best 10 years, you're going to take out the least. I guess you're saving yourself for your 90s when you can go get them Tiger, but don't live too long or that thing's you're gonna hit your fiscal cliff and could run out of money. It makes no sense. And the lifetime income annuity is guaranteed, it's reliable, it comes every single month for the rest of your life, your spouse's life, and still protect the kids. It's an optimal solution.
I'm wondering again, the application of using a lifetime income annuity that I can put jointly, even if it's on my own individual IRA or 401k. And I'm wondering, could I do that for both of us if I have my own individual account and my wife has hers?
Absolutely, and then that's what many people do. And so now they got joint lifetime payouts on both of them. Now what we found is about 60 out of 100 people love this idea. They love it. 40 out of 100 say no. They say, Tom, I don't even like getting my RMD because I got to pay taxes. Now you're trying to pay me more money? That just means I got to pay more taxes and I hate paying taxes. No, then I show them, I say, look, if you take your RMD out, where are you going to pay your taxes out of? Right out of your RMD. And you're going to wind up with an amount lower than that. But you don't have to do that anymore because now you met me. You're going to get this higher amount. And so all the money above the RMD line is the money I just brought to the table, and we're going to take some of that extra money you weren't getting before you met me. That'll go pay the taxes, and you can wind up with double, sometimes triple after taxes. It's not the taxes that matter. It's where can you get the most amount of money guaranteed for the rest of your life, your spouse's life, still protect the kids after taxes. That's the power of this idea.
Well, I love this because everybody's looking for the tactical response on how do I treat my RMDs? What do I do? What should I invest it in? If I have a rollover coming up, what should I put it in? This is a huge tactic, and you've proven this on several annuity spreadsheets that have mechanics that take all these things into account.
Yeah, and now some people say, hey Tom, I still don't need that money. I just want to leave it to my kids. Well, what's the best way to leave IRAs to your kids? Leave the IRA to the kids? I would say no. You should still do this RMD maximization and take that and use that as premium dollars to fund life insurance that go to your kids income tax free.
So if you don't need the income, go ahead, take the RMD, or actually in this case, the optimized way of taking it. Take that, go ahead and buy maybe a single or second to die contract, and then send that money, which you normally were targeted for your beneficiaries anyways, it's going to go right to the kids or grandkids or whoever you choose.
It's the most efficient way of doing it. You're using mortality credits on both sides. You're using the mortality credits of life insurance, where for pennies on the dollar you buy life insurance, and then you're getting dollars for pennies by using the lifetime income annuity for income. It's the new retirement alpha, and I'm writing a new article on that about the retirement alpha and how these mortality credits, because clients aren't getting it from interest rates. They're not going to get it from the market. Where's this new retirement alpha coming from? The mortality credits in lifetime income annuities and life insurance.
It sounds like we're kind of arbitraging both sides of the mortality curve here.
And I don't want to get into the arbitrage conversation. Some companies require you to buy separate policy from separate companies, but in effect that's what you're doing. There is a spread and you're taking advantage of that spread, but even if there wasn't a spread, you're taking advantage of the mortality credits on both sides of that risk.
What about this phrase now? You brought up another one. Here's one of Tom, this is a Hegnaism if you don't mind. Tom, what about this thing, retirement alpha? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, retirement alpha are these mortality credits. It's the math and science that allows higher paychecks than what you can get from any other guaranteed source. So if you think about it, a lifetime income annuity is composed of three parts: principal, interest, and these mortality credits. And I say those mortality credits are the new retirement alpha. And I didn't coin that. The Financial Research Corporation of Boston, when they did this whole report on lifetime income, they kind of coined it. And that phrase literally rocked my world. And I said, wow, retirement alpha for the 21st century.
Do advisors have the skill sets or access to a software that can help them out and calculate all this?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, if you just do any place you can get an RMD calculation, and then you run a lifetime income, or if you want, in this case, what I did was a joint lifetime, and then you just compare them, it's a very powerful, powerful method.
Well, we're right here in the studio with Tom Hegna with his book, paychecks, and playchecks, you've heard 4 or 5 great ideas. Remember, you can watch this show and all our shows by clicking on the red on-demand video button right on our homepage at brokersalliance.com. Well, that's the Buzz on the Biz for today. Get in the zone, the business insurance zone.
The Biz is brought to you by Brokers Alliance, a national leader in insurance products, support services, and educational workshops. When it comes to life insurance, annuities, long-term care, disability, or group pension plans, we're the news you can use.